So, welcome to Transparent with Tina. I am your host, Tina Marks. Nicole Zeola is with us today. I cannot say enough about this woman or how she has transformed my life. She is a spiritual life coach. And Nicole, I was thinking about this earlier. We've known each other for a couple years. I know I found you on Kim Zolciak's page because I
Oh,
think she was
awesome.
you were like helping her daughter had gone through a jaw surgery or something like that. So I reached out to you to be on my podcast. And as I remembering correctly, because it was all kind of coming through this morning, it took a while for you to get on my podcast. You had this going, you had that going, and little did I know how much you would change my life. I mean, I was just, oh, this would be a great podcast guest, for spirituality and anybody wanting to dig deeper. And at that time, I thought I had it all figured out. I mean, I was doing everything I thought was correct, but then a shift happened. And then I started crashing. And I got anxiety, as you remember, and I was getting depression. I had injured my ankle, so I was housebound. I couldn't go anywhere. And that, for an active person, that really just like hit me where I live, because what I look at, what I recognize now, that was one of my distractions by being active all the time. Go, go, go. Just, I didn't realize it. It was just, but once you are like housebound, can't really move, you're feeling depression, it's like it is a very scary feeling. It's a very scary feeling. And that's when our work really began. So I had you on the podcast. And I remember saying, to you, because when you're in fear, you try and just reach and grab for things. I remember saying, "Well, do you think I should take an ayahuasca trip?" And you're like, no, you're too fragmented right now." And I'm crying on the phone as I'm saying that. I just want that quick fix,
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
thank God I did not do that. And you introduced me to, well, we did a couple individual coaching sessions,
Hmm.
and then you had this course it's now called the Aligned Living,
Method.
the Aligned Living Method, right? Where
Yeah,
it was supposed to be 9 weeks, I
yeah,
think. And
yeah.
then it extended and extended. And the work, and it's not like I've never done work before, because I've gone to retreats, I've gone to silent retreats, and I don't think I had tried breath work at that time, because I think Danny Morell, I went to his conference after I started working with you. That was a very, very powerful thing that shifted my life. But the exercises that you have us do is somebody who really wants to grow. It's not for the weak at heart. It's like, I have clients sometimes that sign up and they like, once they write the check, they're like, okay, I'll be fixed. No, no, no. That's not how the work begins.
Yeah.
So if you're really searching, this is the course for you, I believe, because it's completely shifted me and the way I think. And tell us a little bit about you, how you got involved in this, and your journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to be here with you. And I just also have to say, like, your whole energy, your energetic body is like a completely different person than when I first met you. Even the first podcast that we did
Yeah, oh
together.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful to see this incredible transformation, and you're radiating it on the outside. So we just talked about how when you do the inner work and you clean up your inner world, it's reflected in your outer world and even with your appearance. So you're glowing. And I'm so excited to share, yeah, more about my story and the aligned living method. So I've been on my spiritual journey for 20 years. I've always been fascinated by anything that would bridge the gap between spirituality and science, so like quantum physics. I've been a student, I would say, my whole life. I've worked with numerous guides, shamans, mentors, healers. I've read, I don't know, probably thousands of books. I just love to learn about anything, again, that bridges that gap. And during COVID, I had built a company, an international business, and during COVID was a time where we were all forced to slow down, and I started meditating close to 5 hours a day. And it was through that meditation time that I realized I was totally out of alignment with my purpose and the work that God was calling me to do, which is this deeper level healing work. And I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. I just knew that I could feel it in my soul, that this was what I was being called to do. And I just remember hearing and feeling, just say yes, and everything will be figured out. And so when I made that commitment to God and I just said, okay, I'm going to do this work, just show me the way, literally every single stone, I call it, step has been shown to me. And that's what I always teach my clients. We're not trying to get to the end of the movie. Like everyone wants to know how everything works out, and that actually creates a lot of resistance. And,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't allow you to be this limitless being that you are. It creates a lot of limitation because you're constantly trying to force a square peg into a round hole. And so for me, I live in this place where that's why I teach so much about alignment. It's like we got to clear our energetic blocks. We got to reprogram our subconscious mind so that we can align with our higher self and everything that's possible for us. And we do that one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time. And when you learn to do this, life just starts flowing. I always explain it like you start to flow with the current of the river, so to speak, instead of
Yes.
like most of humanity, if you look around, are like paddling upstream, just trying to force and
Absolutely.
exhaust it and burn out. And like, why isn't it working? And it's like, well, let's get your boat turned around first of all. And that's the deeper inner work so that you can start to do and flow naturally with the current. So I now have been doing this full time since that moment. And I've worked with women all over the world and men. I work with a lot of couples as well, from celebrities to stay-at-home moms and kind of everything in between. And as I was doing so much one-on-one work, what I noticed was it didn't matter where people were at. It didn't matter what their traumas were, what their blocks were, and what their dreams and their desires and what they're wanting to manifest was. The path to get there that I was taking people through was very similar.
Mhm.
We had to do the deeper energetic work. We had to work on clearing those blocks. We had to do the deep, deep inner child work. We had to reprogram the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is responsible for over 90% of our thoughts, words, actions, decisions, behaviors. So many people are frustrated, like, wait, I'm like affirming all these things that I want and I'm and I have it on my vision board, but it's like, hey, if you're out of alignment energetically and subconsciously, you're going to be on that hamster wheel and the same experiences, the same things are going to continue to show up. And that's where people get really frustrated. And that's where I knew I needed to create something for the world that was life changing, that was a complete transformation. I have clients that are therapists, doctors, behavioral therapists. And the reason that they come to me for this work is because traditional forms of therapy, while they can be helpful short term, they don't get to the actual root cause and heal it and clear it, right? So sometimes they might be able to help you identify where it's coming from, but they're not taught how to actually help you to heal. And so that is why the aligned living method was born and why I'm so passionate about the work that I do.
Absolutely. Well, you said a couple of things. I'm going to start off with that you meditated for 5 hours a day. Now, I want to assure everybody that you don't have to meditate for 5 hours a day to get to the
Sure.
point that you did. And I want to know personally, what does that look like? Are you sitting in a chair? Or what?
Yeah, no, wherever I'm most comfortable. A lot of that obviously was lying down, because when you're meditating for that long, you want to be super comfortable. And I had been meditating for years. So I teach a lot about meditation in the program, and there's no right or wrong
I was
way to,
just going to say, I never feel like I'm doing it right.
yeah, no, there's no right or wrong way. Meditation is really about clearing the no practicing clearing the noise so that you can align and connect with your higher self. And
Yes.
it's just a muscle. It's a muscle, and you don't have to be sitting oming in silence or
That's what I was getting at. Right.
yeah, no,
Exactly.
you can meditate walking the beach, or they've actually done studies of surfers just bobbing, waiting for a wave to come. their brainwave frequency is the same frequency that deep, deep state meditators go into in in their deepest state. So it doesn't need to be. I teach active and passive meditation. It doesn't need to be something where you're sitting down or laying down. You can actively be meditating as well.
Well, yeah, I had a spiritual mentor. She goes, Tina, I'm meditating all day long. No matter what I'm doing, I'm meditating. So it's just staying in touch and in staying connected to your highest self is what you're saying. So, another thing that you said that is so important, I was having a conversation with a client yesterday about is that, and I used to be like this, and I think most people are like this. So you get a download for like something that maybe is going to be something better coming in for your life. There's a couple things here. First of all, change is uncomfortable. And when we feel uncomfortable, most of us like to distract ourselves. And so you might have, let's say, have a great idea, but if, like for me, if I couldn't figure out from A to Z how it was going to be done, logical ego mind, I'd go like, I'm not going to do it, or somebody else has probably done it already. And I think we really need to speak to why we're so conditioned, because when we come into this world, we're not like that at all, because we've just come from source. And, I've said this before on many occasions, children are a perfect example. They don't have any fear. They're very confident about what they want and what they want to do. They're confident about what brings them joy. You don't see kids saying, "Oh, I'm bored." I mean, some you might, but you see what I'm saying? And so I think that for me, Nicole, was like one of the biggest things that I had lost touch with my joy. In
Yeah.
fact, I didn't even know what brought me joy because in a world that's so fast paced that you're running from one task to the next, how can we expect to be in alignment when we're just doing, doing, doing? And there's that expression, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And we don't take that time to reconnect. And so that's where it's scary, is when you're living in your head and you're not connected. And I mean, I remember when I was so when we started doing the work, I think, yeah, I was going through what was called the dark night of the soul. And in case people don't know what that is, it's like your life feels like it's completely crashing. And that's when I was going through the anxiety and the depression. And, my son had moved away. And I just, I felt so detached from myself. And I felt so afraid. And that's when I didn't know any other way. And I'm thinking, I don't think I've ever felt that way, or I haven't ever felt connected since I was a child. And I think most people are running around and they don't know that. And as you said earlier, so what do? We get into resistance. And this just happened to me. These are like some benchmarks. What I'm learning right now is that when I have a really challenging situation, so like my computer crashed on Monday and I lost pretty much everything. And even though I cried most of the day, I mean, because I was frustrated. It was scary for me. The old me would have gotten angry about it, pointing fingers, this. And I'm watching myself saying, wow, you're really making progress. How you would have reacted to this. And it's funny. I don't know if this is going to keep happening, Nicole, but my mom used to say, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. It's like, I feel like I'm getting more and more and more challenges. It's almost like a weekly, but it doesn't bother me like it used to. I used to get stuck on it. I wouldn't let it go. And now it's like, whatever it is, if it's the outcome that I wasn't expecting, I let it go because I go, you know what? This is clearing space for something greater than me
Yes.
and or something better for me. Exactly. And I just feel like I think there's so many people that are unhappy that would like to try something else, that they're not exercising what their like soul contract on this planet really is. So let's go to affirmations and the subconscious mind. Okay. So I started getting into months ago, where I listened to the binaural beats with narrative of I am affirmations. And it said that whatever you put after the word I am, that's what your life becomes. So I used to write down my affirmations, but now I just stick them in with a headset so you can hear the beats. And I just every single day, even on a Saturday or a Sunday, because I had a client, I said, do it for 21 days. She did it for 21 days. She said, do I have to keep doing it? I said, well, how do you feel? She goes, I feel great. I said, why would you stop doing it then? right? Like you were talking to getting to the finish line. No, it's not getting to the finish line. It's constantly learning. And so I do that every day. And that does reprogram my subconscious mind.
Mhm.
What are some things you do for like affirmations and reprogramming your subconscious mind?
That's a beautiful question. So for me, obviously, uh, I go really deep because there are so many tools like affirmations, using the binaural beats, solfeggio frequencies, like things to help. However, our what I'd love for everyone to understand is that we all have an inner child that is very much still alive within us and different versions of that inner child. And the inner child is actually what runs the show in our subconscious mind. So all the tools are amazing, right? They're great. But doing that deep inner child healing work, which we do in the program, which is so different than anything else out there, I'm sure you can attest to,
Hmm.
uh, it's so essential because otherwise that stuff is still running in the shadows. The inner child is still running the show.
Yes.
And so you're going to have this inner conflict inside,
Hmm.
right? There's only so much reprogramming you can do if the inner child within you is not in harmony and you are not in harmony within yourself. So I would say that's where people really need to start. And I remember when I first heard of inner child work, I don't know how many years ago, maybe a decade ago, I thought it was kind of woo woo. I was like, what is this inner child work? But then when I really started studying and learning about it and the psychology, the actual science behind it, it's everything. It really is everything. And the work that I do is to go deeper than again what you would do in traditional psychology so that we can actually once we get and identify what the root is of our trauma, we can actually heal it at that core level so that we can release it from the physical body, like it
Hmm.
gets stored in our physical body and our DNA so that we can actually release it energetically, and then be reprogramming the subconscious mind and really building new neural pathways,
Yeah.
new belief systems. Like you just said, it's so beautiful. That's so much of what I teach is when you do this work, you start to be able to become the observer of your
Hmm.
life instead of
Yes.
reacting to everything all the time. You observe it from a more neutral lens, and then you get to make a decision and a choice of what meaning you're going to give it, right?
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
the most powerful thing you can do because I always say life is gonna life, right? Even
Life
when
is what?
life is gonna life, like meaning,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, like even when you have done all the healing work, right? We're gonna have curveballs and things that come at us where we're like, that's not what I thought it was gonna look like, or that didn't go exactly like how I maybe had envisioned it. But I promise you, when you're able to heal and practice being in that neutral observer lens and you shift your and reframe the perspective and the meaning that you're giving it, that's when you experience the magic. That's when your life really starts to
Yes.
expand. That's when you're like, oh, okay, God, I see now this other door that's been open for me, but I was so fixated on, whatever didn't work out, or like you said, you used to get so upset and hung up on things.
Mhm.
Well, that was consuming all of your space, all of your energy. You had
Yes.
no room for anything else.
Ex Well, and for another thing that I learned, Nicole, as we talked before we came on, that I didn't realize until a couple years ago that I'm an empath and an HSP. So an empath, and they're very similar, but they're different. So essentially, I have a very sensitive nervous system. So my whole life, I was in fight or flight. So it's exactly what you're saying. If you're in fight or flight, you're all about response. You're not about taking a step back and saying, I have options. Because, like, if a bear is chasing you, you're not going to stop and say, that's what it feels like when you're in fight or flight and when you're in fear all the time. It's calming the central nervous system down to be able to have look at things as opportunities and to reframe, just like you said. I had a client text me like 45 minutes before we came on and said, I just hired a second virtual assistant. It's great, but it's scary. What if I can't afford him? I wrote back, what if you can?
I love
Flipping it.
that. Yeah.
Whenever the what if I can't, afford to do, what if you can? Look at like, and you know what? Feeling within your body, what I've learned too, and that you've taught me is feeling it. Where in your body are you carrying your stress? If you're feeling stressful, is it in your stomach or is it in your heart and really, really feel with it and don't run away from it because we are filled in a society of, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. So go give me something to take this away. And I think it's well, I don't think, I know it's a major problem. This is why people are, on prescription medication. This is what's killing our society. And you know what? On top of it, it's numbing them out. It's not getting them closer to their center of being or closer to what you just said, the magic. And that's really what it is. It feels magical when you're living life from this side. The other side, it feels like no wonder people are depressed. No, you're just getting through every day. All my whole goal was just to get my task done, to get to the end of the day so I could zone out and do something and not think about the rest of my life and think that tomorrow's coming, I'm going to have to do this all over again.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up the nervous system because I see more and more people talking about regulating the nervous system. And again, the tools of regulating the nervous system are great. They're super, super important, right? We want to be in that parasympathetic state where we're relaxed, and that's how you stay in the receptive mode. However, I see so many people teaching about regulating the nervous system, but if again, you have all of this deep-rooted trauma that's stored in your body, that's stored in your energetic field, that's stored in your subconscious mind, it's constantly like coping is really what it is, right? It's just trying to
Yeah,
calm
right.
itself.
It's trying to regulate you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so again, it's like it's better than nothing. And we want to learn how to regulate our nervous system. And even after you do the deeper level healing work, it's important to always, like I talk about clearing your energy every single day and how to stay grounded. Because yes, you are an empath. You're a highly sensitive person. I mostly work with empaths. But even people that are not empaths need to understand you have your physical body, then you have your aura, which goes out anywhere from 3 to over 10 feet. So your energetic body, this aura that surrounds you, is constantly receiving feedback and all sorts of invisible information, we'll call it, an invisible energy. And that is going to affect your nervous system. There's also things happening every single moment of the day astrologically that affect our nervous system, that affect our
And
body.
collectively.
Yes, collectively, exactly.
Yeah.
So learning, yes, how to stay regulated and how, to keep yourself grounded and how to stay living in alignment with your higher self is everything. But we can't skip steps. And I think that that's the message that
Cannot skip step and you have to be consistent. I
yes.
notice, yeah, well, I do it every day, but when I was inconsistent, it's just like anything. You're going to be inconsistent about it, you're going to get half the results. If you do it, I've had people say, I don't have time to do this. I'm like, you don't have time not to do this. Grounding is another thing that is absolutely essential in my life. I mean, you can either do it going on hugging a tree or you can walk on the grass if you're in a city or something like that. But I use a grounding mat while I'm doing my clients. I just have it, underneath my feet. So that's really helpful too. So let's go into the relationship part because when you and I were talking about doing this podcast, I'm like, what are we really going to bring out? Because I had seen something on your Instagram talking about your course and it sounded like it was like, oh, I said, are you doing a romantic relationship? You said no, it's really all about one thing. It's about the relationship with yourself. And I could not agree more. I was one of those people, come save me. Somebody's got to come save me because I was so locked down in terror. I didn't trust myself. In fact, that was my word last year. I finally did an intention for last year. And when you set an intention like that, it really does work because now I feel like I do trust myself. And when you do trust yourself, You're not clinging or having to find that person. Let's talk about that a little bit because most people, I think, especially when they get older, when am I going to find that person and why is everybody else? Let's talk about that because you have something to say about that. You were in a marriage, right? And it didn't end well. And then
Yeah,
you found your talk, let's tell everybody about that, how you found your
absolutely.
husband.
Yeah, of course. And I'm so glad that you brought this up because my husband and I were talking a lot about this yesterday. And it is so essential for anyone who is single and wanting to call in their dream person. I talk with women all day long, right? And women are coming to me all the time, wanting to call in their soulmate or their dream person, not understanding yet that until they do this deep inner work that we're talking about, they're going to continue to attract the same quality of man. That's why I attracted my ex-husband, which
Mhm.
was a level 10 narcissist. Narcissist empath relationships are very common, by the way, especially when
Mhm. They seek us out.
yeah, until you're healed, and then there's just they can't even they know that they can't feed off of you, I'd say,
Yes.
energetically,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I don't have any narcissists in my life. But when you're unhealed, you're just a magnet to them. So,
And when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you're always like feeling like there's something you've done wrong.
oh yeah,
I,
that's
I had that blanket statement over my whole
yeah. Oh
for
yeah.
my whole life, but they really make you feel like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. They're masters of that. Master.
Hmm.
But anyway, it was through that process actually that I went through with my ex-husband that forced me, just like you talked about your dark night of the soul, that was my dark night of the soul. That time, that period of my life, that season of my life forced me to go deeper than I had ever gone before. That's when I started learning about inner child work. That's when I that's when I realized, wow, I'm attracting these toxic relationships and toxic men because of all of this unresolved trauma with my dad.
Yep.
Yeah, it was incredibly eye-opening. And so when I did that deeper level work, that's when I cleaned up my internal frequency, energy, vibration, whatever you want to call it. That's when I really gained this deep, deep, profound self-love and level of deservability.
That's
And
it. That's
yes,
it.
yes, and you can't skip it. You have to do the deeper work in order to, because people are like, I don't love myself. I have all these insecurities. I don't feel like I deserve, right? And then you, of course, attract something that's mirroring that.
Yep.
Something I want everyone to know that's listening to this is relationships are just a mirror. They are reflecting
Yes.
where we are healed and resolved and where we are unhealed and unresolved. And when you're again able to look at it from more of an observation standpoint, you can go, oh, wow, okay, there's some things, if I'm attracting, let's say, narcissists, there's some stuff I need to clean up within myself, right? I'm the pattern,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
someone else.
Yep.
And when you do that, then you start to attract higher quality relationships. So that's when I called in my current husband, who is, I could go on and on all day. Absolutely a dream. We have the healthiest relationship. And that's all a result of the inner work that I did and the inner work that he did. And so when we met, we were an energetic vibrational match, a healthy match. And that takes time. He was on his healing journey for 6 years before we met. He was actually celibate. We talked about that yesterday when we were filming. He was celibate for 6 years because he was going and doing that deep inner work. Um, Making sure he's keeping his energy clear to call in the right type of relationship. So sometimes it could happen in a month, sometimes it can happen in a year, but it's about also, like you said, being consistent and honoring yourself and your journey and your own process. Because we all are here to learn different things. We're here to clear and resolve different karma. And it's so easy to get caught up comparing ourselves and comparing our lives to other people. And one thing I want everyone to know, I have had the privilege of working with people, again, all over the world. And the behind the scenes of what people's lives look like compared to what people show
Yeah.
is very different. Everyone is fighting their own internal battles, challenges, struggles. I don't care how picture perfect their life looks on Instagram and how much success it
And
looks like.
sometimes even more so when because they're trying to cover something up.
True. And I guess I think I just want people to know that, because when you're in that place where you're going through your dark night of the soul, or you're feeling really stuck, or you're feeling so broken, you feel like, what is wrong? Why is everyone happy? And
Yeah.
that's just not the case, you know? Everyone is just on different timelines and
Right.
different points in their healing journey, if they are even on their healing journey. Like, obviously you're seeing and feeling now we're having a massive awakening. The consciousness of the planet is finally starting to rise. But even so, I would say it's not even 20%, not even 20% of the population of the world that's actually awakening yet, right?
I hear you.
Actually healing yet. And so just understanding to really honor your own process. And when you do that, you have this profound shift that happens where you're not looking outside of yourself for things to be answered, or for things to be better, or going back to relationships. You're not going and seeking a relationship to fill a void.
Right.
That is what most people are doing. They have this energy of chasing something outside of themselves because they think that the relationship is going to make them happy. It's going to fix it. It's going to make them feel better. And oftentimes people get together, and in the beginning, first honeymoon stage,
Yeah.
both people, it's like, oh, this is great. We're having great sex. Our cups are being filled up. But then when you get to the reality of where you're at and how you attracted each other, you can't make each other happy forever,
No.
right? Your job, your role is to make yourself happy first. And then you attract a partner who's doing that. I always say you fill your own cup up first. That's all
Yes.
of our job. And
Yes.
then when you get with somebody and attract somebody who's doing the same thing, your cups just start to overflow. And then everyone in your space, your community starts to receive the overflow, right? But
Yes.
first, it's about filling up your own cup. And, you're a testament to that. Like, I just am so
It's
proud of you and happy for you.
thank you. That's so true. You know the cliche, oh, you'll find them when you least expect it. I used to hate that. Oh, we'll have to act like I'm not looking. Yeah, it's like trying to trick myself. Okay, I'm not looking. Where is he? Where is he? Right? But it's so true because, I haven't found my person yet, but I'm not searching for him. I'm open. I'm
Yeah.
all about attracting rather than chasing.
Yes.
And so
That's, that's how you're going to attract the quality of man that you deserve.
which
It's
leads to my
quality.
next question though, Nicole. How many men, honestly, do you think do the work? I mean, I think the population of women are doing it, but I'm not running into many men that, I'll see them on Instagram if they're a coach or that's their field, like yours. But
I think there's more than you probably think. But remember, I just said it's a small population of the world,
Mhm,
men
mhm.
and women, that are doing any kind of work, right?
Yeah.
It does any kind of self-healing, any
Hmm.
kind of healing. So what I would encourage you to do is start to affirm, I know I'm limitless. I know that I'm doing this work to align and attract my divine partner in
Hmm.
life, right?
Hmm.
And when you open yourself up that way, it's again, it's infinite, right?
Yes.
And you're going, it's a magnet. You're
Yes.
going
Yes.
back. So it doesn't matter if there's two of them, right? Or
Right.
there's 200 million.
Right.
going to open yourself up to attract the right one.
There we go again with the faith that if that's meant to be. And I just kind of had that conversation with myself this week in a very loving, calm. That's one thing I'm really practicing with myself now. It's a lot of empathy, a lot of love, a lot of forgiveness for myself. And you know what? I'm not attached to the idea that I in this lifetime have to find that partner. That's not saying if I do, and that's the most beautiful place that I've ever been. Because, and the other thing is too, is just what I've learned is just start doing those things, going those places. Stop waiting for that. The one thing somebody said that what's the biggest thing you miss out of a relationship? I mean, it's been 16 years since I've
Yeah.
been in a relationship. It's a long time. And I said, doing errands with one another, cooking together. It's just that partner. But you know what? Now I have myself. And you know what? And I have I've moved back to the desert, as you know. And you know what? When I was in Orange County, I didn't find my tribe. But I was going through that was I really believe that move was meant for me to go through the dark night of the soul, to find you, to find the course, to get healed, and then move back here. And I like got what I learned, and now I'm back here, and it's like my circle keeps getting bigger and bigger. And men are kind of like, yes, I'd still love that, but it's not something that I wake up thinking about consciously swiping. So I just feel so at peace with myself, and I just could not recommend your course. I mean, I would recommend to anybody, and on, would you say any level, or would you say somebody has to have to take the course, have some kind of um experience with this?
No, I was really conscious when I created it that women would be coming in from every kind of stage of awareness. I guess the only prerequisite is that you need to be in a place where you're really done living the old way.
Yeah,
You're
fed
ready.
up, like rock
Yeah,
bottom. Yeah,
yeah. You're just like, I am done and I am ready to put in the work because like you said, it's not for the
hmm,
faint of heart. This is
yeah,
not a quick fix. This is not just, oh, I'm going to do a couple, vision boards and some affirmations and
yeah,
everything's going to be
yeah.
different. It'll be the deepest,
Lot of
most
tears, a lot of
Yeah,
tears, a
it'll
lot
be
of
the
relief.
deepest, most profound work you'll ever do in your life. So that's the requirement. You have to be so ready to say yes to yourself, as painful, as hard, as uncomfortable as it might be. That's really the only requirement is to say, I am done and I'm ready to
Yeah,
claim the life that I deserve. The work, I always say that because I always will interview women first to make sure that we're aligned fit to work together. And I always say the work works. This method, this program, it works. It's
right.
transformed women's lives all over the world, including my own. The only requirement is that you show up and you do it and
Yeah,
you're
yeah. You
consistent
have
with it.
you have to do the yeah, you
Have
have
to,
to do the work.
have to actually show up and be consistent. And I always compare the physical muscle to the spiritual muscle. Like you're not going to go to the gym once a month and expect
Expect.
your body to like look different and to feel different. No, you go consistently 3 to 5 times a week over 3 to 4 months, your body starts to change, right? You
Yeah.
start to feel better. And then over 6 months, your whole entire energy, your whole body, people start noticing. They're like, oh my gosh, what did you do? Right. But
Hmm.
it's that consistency building that muscle. And the same thing with this work.
Yep. Well, that's what I always tell. I say success is three things. It's intention, consistency, and action. So it's three things. It's simple, but it's not always easy to do. And you provide such a great space where people can feel safe. I mean, the women that are continually added to this group. I mean, everybody was there for support and anyway, I think I would, like I said, I'd recommend it to anybody. And you're coming out with a podcast, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, sure. Yes.
Tell me, because I didn't even know that till I got on with you.
Yes. Okay, so last year, 1 year ago, like almost today, we had that massive eclipse. I don't know if you remember that last
Yes.
April.
Yes.
So I was doing a meditation outside, and I just had this download, like I did when I was called to do this work,
Yes.
and I knew God. It was like so clear. God was, you need to do a podcast. This needs to happen, and I had never had any, like, honestly, I don't really watch podcasts. I never had a desire or an intention to do it. It was never on my radar, but it was such a clear download that I was like, okay. And I made a few phone calls, and literally the next day I was on somebody's podcast in LA, and I just started kind of planting seeds. And then some things happened. The studio in LA, it just wasn't feeling in alignment. And I ended up finding a studio here locally that I fell in love with, and we did a lot of research on what I wanted to name it and what I wanted it to be, and a lot of meditation on that. And so it's called the Spiritually Rich Podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So what do you're having guests on, or are you going to be doing it on your own, or?
I'm going to be doing a combination of both.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be doing interviews with guests, and then I'm also going to be doing teachings,
Hmm.
kind of similar to what I did in the Spiritual Academy, but like a podcast format. So it won't just be audio, it will be visual. And I there's so much like wisdom to share and so
Yeah.
much to teach. And the Spiritual Academy was something that people really loved and something I've considered bringing back. But so those will be more on specific topics, things that are relevant to what's happening collectively right now.
Okay. That's amazing. So when do we get, is it going to be on Spotify, Apple, all the different, and
All,
when is it starting?
May. We don't have an exact date yet. We're still working on that, but it'll be launching in May, and it'll be everywhere. Yeah, we're gonna put it on every platform. So
Awesome. So the aligned living method, is that ongoing right now, or when's the start date? If people want to sign up, how do they?
so when I initially launched like the beta version, I guess you were in that initial group.
Yeah.
Really fun. And then what I saw was this needs to be something that's accessible, continuously.
Yeah.
So you can enroll at any time. The first step would be for us to have that interview that I talked about. And like, it's really a time
Make
for us
sure
to,
it's a good fit. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And then from there, yes, you can get started and start to go through the program. It takes about, if you're consistent, it takes about 3 to 3.5 months if you're doing like about an hour a week. And then I do 2 to 3 live calls and workshops every month. I actually just did an abundance activation workshop, which was all about really increasing your capacity to receive and hold more wealth.
Was that in
So
person? Where was that?
that was on Zoom within our community. So I send you the replay. I'm actually going to add you to like the new
Yes,
meeting
please.
chat and all of the things. Yeah. So it's been evolving very quickly, I would say, over the last like 4 months. And um, we have like you talked about, beautiful community of women that's
Yeah.
growing, women from all over the world. So we have our chat, and it's just thriving, and everyone's just holding space for each other and
Yes.
inspiring and motivating each other. So yeah, that's pretty much how it works. If anyone wants to reach out, they can, and then we can go from there.
Hold on, you cut out for a second. So how do they reach out to you? Through your website or through DMing you
Instagram,
on?
yeah, DM on Instagram is like the fastest way to get a response.
And it's Nicole, Nicole, and then your last name. What's on the screen here? Zeole. Oh,
Zeo.
Seolo. Spell it yourself.
Yeah,
Z
Nicole. Yeah, Zeola,
Zeola.
Zeola, and then Love, Love. That's my username on Instagram. That's definitely the fastest way to get a hold of me.
Well, I'm so proud of you because you did. I was one of the first people, and that's taken off. And that, you know, whether it, you know, you knew that that was your path, there was still probably some fear there, and you just went for it.
Oh,
And
there
learning
was
out of
a
the
ton of
podcast, yeah.
there was a ton of fear. And even, yeah, with the podcast, whenever you get a download to do something, I actually posted that today. Um, you I just encourage you to follow that nudge, follow that inspiration. The mind, the brain is tricky. It will always try to go through all the how is this going to happen and make sense of it. And those times when you have that inspiration, a lot of times it's not going to make logical sense because
Right.
it's coming from a higher space, a higher dimension, a higher frequency. But when you follow it, everything unfolds and everything works out. And yes, with the Aligned Living method, it was scary because I had never done a group program in that sort of format. I'd never held space for a group on Zoom before. And I remember the first few of them, I was like so uncomfortable. And now, like, I look forward to them, and it's so much fun. But
Yeah.
that's just part. We don't grow in our comfort zone, and I know that every single step that I said yes to was to get to a place to create that, to create the Aligned Living method. I genuinely, in my heart, feel like it's been like a missing link in humanity to our healing. You
Oh,
know.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, they say what the everything is on the other side of fear. All the magic is on the other side of fear.
It is. So
And
it's
the other thing about your brain, I just want to interject this that I heard, which made so much sense to me on a scientific level. Your brain is always searching to be in a state of what's familiar,
yes,
because it's
100%.
always trying to conserve energy. So it's
Yes.
going to go back into your old behaviors, your old thoughts, and everything else. So there's the resistance. But if you keep pushing through, just like the gym was a perfect example. In the beginning, the first day you're going to come home, you're probably not going to go back. You're going to be so sore or so difficult. But then you get to the other side, and then like that's where the magic really begins. So wherever you guys are in your life, doesn't matter what age. Don't ever say, "Oh, I'm too old." You know, I get that a lot at my age. Oh, I'm too old. I'm set in my ways. And it's like, and those people that say that are the most miserable people. And my heart breaks for them because I see people going through their life like that. And there is another way. And the way is this way and your method. And anyway, I think
Thank
that's a good place to leave it. And so you'll be on your Instagram letting people know also when your podcast is airing and all that. So if you guys want to be updated on everything that Nicole is doing, just go to her Instagram page, right?
Amazing. Yes, that's perfect. And I'm so so grateful that we found this time to do this and to connect. I'm so honored to be part of your journey and
Thank
so
you.
yeah, so excited for everything that you're manifesting and calling in your life right now. This is like your glow era, your glow up era. It's so exciting.
I'm ready. I'm ready. And thank you so much because I don't know if I would be here if it weren't for you. Really.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. And we have episodes every single week with amazing people like Nicole. So, Nicole, keep doing what you're doing and changing the world and bringing more light into this beautiful world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You too. I'll talk to
Okay.
you soon.
All right. Hold
All
on.
right. Bye.
Bye. Let's see. Let me just press the record. Oh, stop recording.